Welcome to another edition of EdTalks, our great leadership series. And this time we have a CEO. We like to have a lot of CEOs here because I think a lot of people like myself, like we all aspire to be someone like Kevin. Kevin MacDonald, welcome to EdTalks.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, Kevin, before we jump in, because we want to learn a little bit about your leadership style and things that have made you successful, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started the company out of the second bedroom of my apartment back in 2011. My background's not in healthcare at all. It's in supply chain and technology, but saw a problem that really needed to be solved. Personally, I like to do things like long distance sailing, and I live in Miami. So it's been a
Oh,
good time and a fun ride along the way.
yeah. So tell us about long distance sailing. I've never heard that framed that way. I know sailing, and I know long distance. So what's a long distance sail?
Actually, it's kind of fun. So 2 weeks from now is the largest offshore freshwater race in the world, which is the race from Chicago to Mackinac. Doing that, I've been doing it for about 10 years, and you go for 48 hours straight. Everyone always asks, like, do you sleep during it? And the answer is yes, but the boat's going the whole time, and you have two crews, so it's a fun race. There's 300 boats, and you're trying to get there as quick as possible.
Wow. And how long is a boat? Like roughly, like what's your boat?
The boat we're on is about 40 feet, but there's ones that are as small as sort of 29, and then the largest one is about 110.
Oh man, that's pretty cool. We'll have to talk some more someday. Maybe we'll do a part two or something and learn about sailing. So on your career, like you become a CEO now. So what are one or two traits that have helped you in terms of leadership? Because again, a lot of our listeners might be people who are managers or directors today and aspire to be someone like you. So what are one or two things that have really helped you?
Yeah, I'd say if I kind of focus on anything, one of the things I always tell my team is above all, the one core value is honor the customer. So just
Mm.
make sure you have that sort of customer focus. And it doesn't mean the customer is necessarily always right, but our customers have really hard jobs in really difficult locations. So let's honor the work they do and treat them with, respect and care and pay attention to their needs. And if we do that, and treat them well, they're going to end up, loving us and adopting more. That's kind of number one. And then number two, there's just going through venture and bootstrapping and now private equity. There's a level of perseverance. I know
Yeah.
a lot of folks have said, perseverance is in the end what, marks success versus not success, but that's definitely true.
And so give us an example of maybe a one or two customers, how they're using Bluesight to help them.
Yeah, so we primarily serve the pharmacies and compliance offices in the hospital. So we have a number of different solutions, but one sort of very simple thing is catching people stealing narcotics. So 1 in 10 nurses, pharmacists, and anesthesiologists will do what they call divert narcotics over the course of their career and either use it on themselves or sell them. So what we're doing is helping the health systems understand who might be at risk of doing that and help them conduct investigations. We also track drugs and do things like help hospitals save money on purchasing and reimbursement of drugs and all kinds of different things related to the operations, compliance, and safety around, again, pharmacy and the health system.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't think most people would know about that 10% number, but it is quite large. And as an executive of several health systems myself, that was always problematic. And it just reminds me though, Kevin, this will blow you away. When one of my first jobs, I was a janitor first, but then I was a combat medic. But my third job was an anesthesia tech. And again, this is pre like computerization days. This would have been, gosh, what was it, like late 90s? And I was responsible like at 5 a.m. in the morning for all the narcotics. Now I was early 20s. I had no idea what I was dealing with, which didn't matter anyways, because I wouldn't, not that type of a person, but I had access to all these drugs and the accountability was so weak,
Yes.
and certainly over the years, right, we've automated things and that they're integrated with electronic health record. But even then, my wife's a clinician and she would tell us stories about, people who are struggling and, have done nefarious things. So obviously with Bluesight, you like help take care of all that. So that's pretty cool. Now, Kevin, you had to build a team to be as successful as you are with Bluesight and helping out all these hospitals and pharmacies and things like that. Tell us like one secret that's really helped you to build a great team.
There's so many things to talk about in this, but there's different folks for different parts of your journey along the way, right? The people that are starting up a company and getting you to your first couple customers are sort of jacks of all trade that are sort of willing to kind of do anything. And then as you grow, there's different levels of specialization. One of the things that's been sort of most surprising to me is through these different phases, you have more needs for specialization and more needs for sort of jack of all trade types that varies over time. And that sort of balance between the two and where you are relative to your scale has been a sort of interesting play.
Kevin, one last question, because again, I'm kind of harping on this theme of like, I want to be a CEO myself. So would you recommend that someone, again, let's just say they're early in their career, like take some sales positions as well as some operational positions? Like what would the ideal, CEO makeup be, and how does it compare to yours?
Yeah, I think that different people are going to have different biases. So I certainly have my bias, right? I have a technical degree, but I've been in the sort of sales and go to market function of companies in the past. And then I ran a consulting practice for a while. So I think having that attachment to the customer and understanding why customers buy is critically important. So that would lean towards more of a sales kind of role or a sales support kind of role. At the same time, you need to know what you're delivering and how can you do it effectively. So to the extent that you can get exposure to different parts of the business, that's really important. And then, of course, from a finance side, being able to understand, balance sheet, income statement, how these various pieces are working together can help you better plan. How am I moving to the next step? What do the unit economics look like, for example?
And I don't think we covered it in the beginning. So melding the two together. So given your background and passion for sailing, being a CEO, and then Bluesight, how did that all come together? Like what attracted you with Bluesight to, be a part of this, and any metaphors that you can bring in?
Uh, It's one of these things where I actually didn't intend to be necessarily a CEO or a founder. It's just the use case found me. So one of the things we do is track drugs using RFID. And there's a friend of my wife who is a pharmacist who was talking about her day and how it was awful. And by hearing what she was doing day to day, I was able to apply that to sort of a rubric of different things that make a good or bad use of the technology, in this case, RFID. And it was the best use case I had ever heard. And that's what caused me to start cold calling hospitals to see if they had a problem and then ultimately start the business that I did.
That's cool. So there's like navigation. I'm bringing it to sailing now. So you have to have like a sort of this navigation and understanding where you are, the RFID, the GPS, and all those things just coming together. The right crew, is that what you call it on a boat? The people that
Well,
are helping.
so yeah, with both, there's so many different pieces of data that you're dealing with, right? So what's the wind doing? How's my boat doing? What's the rest of the crew doing? What's the weather doing? How does that change? And trying to understand that overall market landscape instead of the physical landscape is what you're trying to do as to whether
Yeah.
this is a journey worth taking or not.
Yeah. And then you're helping all these hospitals and stuff arrive safely at the destination, ultimately taking best care of the patient. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Kevin, we'll have to have you come back sometime, talk about longboats. That's pretty exciting, and long distance sailing, and how things are going with Blue Side. So thanks for sharing some of your wisdom with my audience.